One I'd really like to point out is Dark Empire before we get any deeper. Lucas has been on record saying this, and now there have been novels about the events after Episode 6, which isn't at all what I would have done with it. The Star Wars story is really the tragedy of Darth Vader. That is the story. Once Vader dies, he doesn't come back to life. The Emperor doesn't get cloned, and Luke doesn't get married. George also told Ian McDiarmid that Palpatine was absolutely dead after Return of the Jedi. I remember saying, "Is he dead, George?" at the time, and he said, "Yes, he is. Absolutely." When EU critics like to bring up this quote, EU purists like to bring up the quote from Tom Veitch, Dark Empire creator, who said this: Tim, referring to Timothy Zahn, hated the idea of the Emperor coming back and probably wasn't aware that George Lucas had proposed the idea to us. Our original proposal was to bring back Darth Vader's costume and mask with somebody else inside it. We think the Empire would want to maintain the fearsome image of Vader and wouldn't much care who was wearing the armor and breathing mask. George vetoed that idea, although he did allow us to have Vader appear in dreams and memories. He said, "No, you can't bring back the Vader costume. But if you can figure out how to bring back the Emperor, that's okay. The obvious way to bring back the Emperor was with cloning, which George immediately approved." However, is that true? Lucy Autry Wilson, a higher up in the EU, as we've already discussed, had this to say. And then for the novels, I mean, we just, in the beginning, just let the people write what they wanted. What Tom Veitch, the story he wrote, we were just kind of letting people do what they wanted then. He wrote his story. I didn't ask George anything. We published it. Later, George would run into me and he said, "Lucy, I would never clone the Emperor. He doesn't get cloned." And I'm like, "How am I supposed to know that if you don't want to be involved in what we're doing? And yet, if I do something you don't like," so I started then having to send them memos, this person wants to do this, this, and this. Is this okay? Is that okay? So initially, George wasn't involved in the first wave of EU stories, as we've already shown from Sue Rustoni and now from Lucy Autry Wilson, both higher ups in the EU management. Also, keep in mind here that she says that George didn't want to be involved at first. So keep that in mind whenever you try to make it seem like George came up with Howard and the two together decided to move forward with EU and post Return of the Jedi stories. But based off of George's displeasure he's expressed about the Emperor returning, I think it's safe to say Lucas and Lucy Wilson are probably right, and the idea didn't actually come from George. But if that's the case, then why would Tom Veitch say that? It's possible he was lying. He was the creator and he did have a financial stake in this. But I don't think that's quite it. It's possible that the EU authors didn't necessarily all understand the inner workings of the licensing side of the company, the many chiefs involved, and the cooks in the kitchen, and how that all related to George Lucas. He probably just assumed that because Lucasfilm higher ups allowed it, it came from George, when in reality, it came from someone else. Some might try and fight this and say, "Well, why is Lucy Wilson not saying anything beforehand? Why is she only saying something now? This is after the buyout. Isn't that suspicious?" No, Lucy Autry Wilson departed Lucasfilm in 2010. Disney is irrelevant. As to why she wouldn't have corrected Tom Veitch on this beforehand, Tom Veitch said this in a Facebook post, and it wasn't even a straight up post on his account, it was a chat on Facebook or in the comment section of a post. It wasn't him saying it in an official manner in Lucasfilm capacity. Keep in mind, Tom Veitch hasn't done work for Lucasfilm since the 90s. So that is irrelevant. This is Lucy Autry Wilson just simply having an interview. This wasn't her coming out to just debunk Tom Veitch. This was a 2-hour interview where she was just talking about her role at Lucasfilm, etc., and this popped up. And if you look in the context of the comment, this isn't her saying, "No, Tom lied, he was wrong," etc. She got to this point as kind of the breaking point for George getting a little bit more involved in the EU and not just being super hands off. Tom Veitch was the breaking point, so she brought that up. She wasn't saying he was wrong or that he previously lied or that he misunderstood. This was just an independent interview. And if I'm being honest, based off my reading of the situation, it seems like Lucy Autry Wilson didn't even know that Tom Veitch probably said that it came from George.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them delight.